fear that a lot of American Jews have when they hear messaging against the state of Israel is that that is a slippery slope towards Jews don't belong in Israel-Palestine.
That's tough. That must suck for you.
At all.
I recognize that that land is a land that a lot of people have lived on, right? The most recent inhabitants before 1948 were the Palestinian people, but also historically the Jewish people. The problem, though, is
also
that
like Palestinian Jews, like the Palestinians aren't Muslims. There were Palestinian Jews there as well.
The implicit public policy of our government.
I'm sorry, like again, like literally this rhetoric is one-to-one with like, I oppose the Holocaust, but I worry that in an effort to stop the Holocaust, we're going to eradicate the German people's right to occupy like Poland. Like, I agree with stopping the Holocaust, but I'm concerned that in our zeal to stop the Holocaust, we're going to remove German influence from Western Poland or whatever. Like, that's what they're saying. I'm sorry. That's really tough for you. That's so difficult for you, and I respect that. I'm sorry. It's a little more complicated than that, but like, you know, marginally more complicated.
Has been to aid, arm, and abet Israel's current government to the exclusion of the right to peace, dignity, and self-determination for Palestinian people, right?
What would you say to people who are worried that withdrawing defense funding to Israel would make American Jews less safe here at home?
Yeah, I would say you're psychotic. I'd say that's like literally the opposite of a rational argument. Israel's nonstop warmongering has done nothing but paint targets on the backs of innocent Jews who just want to live their life normally. And then the mainstream media, Democrats and Republicans, all go out there and say, hey, by the way, the Jews wanted this. Hey, remember everyone, this is their shit. They're the ones doing this and you have to listen to them. Like fucking Mamdani's trying to run for mayor, and every 8 seconds a screeching debate moderator charges at him and demands him to answer to the concerns of the, I guess, innately dual loyalty afflicted Jewish citizenry of America, which I personally consider the implication of that to be quite anti-Semitic. Remember that NBC reporter? She literally called Netanyahu the president of American Jews. She called him their president. That's fucking insane. Or sorry, their prime minister, yeah. Prime minister, not president. Absolutely psychotic, like genuinely Nazi propaganda right there. I think that unfortunately the president of American Jews right now is Donald Trump. I'm not happy about that, but like
this idea that the things that we're doing with our tax dollars to backstop a foreign government somehow makes Jewish folk more safe here. That doesn't make sense to me. I start from a position of principle, which is to say that Jewish Americans are not the same as AIPAC and Israel. That Jewish Americans deserve...
sounds anti-Semitic. It's actually the mainstream insistence that all Jews are actually hold dual loyalties is actually the only way to proceed with this conversation, Abdul al-Sayed. Like Haley Stevens, you know?
To live their lives unfettered and unencumbered by discrimination or hate, and that we have to fight together to build an America where that anti-Semitism is stamped out.
There is the largest Arab American community here in Michigan, and mostly are from the southern Lebanon. My dad is building this dream home for all of us as brothers or sisters, and it vanished in a couple of seconds, and the soldiers were laughing about demolishing the whole village. As an American citizen, I'm paying taxes for this government to bomb and kill us for what?
I appreciate you lifting your voice, and I'm sorry about your family's experience. What is happening in southern Lebanon right now is, frankly...
Sneakers with a suit? Yeah, man. I know this is not necessarily related, but God almighty, this trend has to end. They're not just sneakers either. It's, they're running shoes. Everyone wears running shoes now, even though they don't run. First of all, you know this is really bad for your feet, right? The point of running shoes is that the springy foam base helps you conserve momentum forward when you're running to lessen the impact in your heels, but they're really, really, really bad for just standing around unless you're running. They're good for running shoes. If you're standing around, all that foam underneath your feet means it's difficult for you to get firm placement with your... This is why you guys roll your ankles. Because you're standing on a bunch of foam. You're basically like, it's like always standing on a trampoline. Like, you can never get firm footing because the ground underneath your feet is like shifting and rolling and stuff, which makes it easier to roll your ankles, which means that the shifting underneath your feet gives you worse blisters. Like, it's genuinely bad for you to wear running shoes unless you are running. They are for running. That's why they're called running shoes.
Experience, what is happening in southern Lebanon right now is frankly an abomination. I intend to be a voice in the U.S. Senate to consistently advocate for our principles, and that we apply them everywhere, and that we apply them consistently.
Do you think that it's harder to change things, so we're not being proactive anymore? Like, it's easier just to let things keep going, like Israel, AIPAC. Is it just the easy way out?
I'm threatening a system of power that says you just go along to get along. The real issue in our politics is not right versus left. It's not like progressive versus conservative. It's not Democrat, Republican. It's people who are locked out of our healthcare, our housing, our economy, versus the people doing the locking out. I just want to always be on the side of the people who are locked out.
Progressives love to say, progressive political candidates love to say shit like, it's not about left versus right. It's about the bourgeoisie versus the proletariat. It's not about moving left. It's actually about establishing a workers' democracy and abolishing capital. It's classic bit. It's literally right versus left. Well, the point that he's making fundamentally is that it's not the manufactured left versus right culture war that capitalist pedophiles maintain through control of the media in order to distract people, you know? It's not left versus right in the sense of like the future of the country comes down to whether or not you believe trans people should be able to play high school sports or whatever. Like, yeah, they should, but that's like a shell issue, right? It's a wedge issue. It's a secondary concern invoked to distract you from the real issue, which is that the capital class owns everything and it wants to own even more than everything.
My real opponent in this race is Chuck Schumer, every corporate PAC, AIPAC. They will run your name in the mud. They will lie about you. They will lie about their opponent. It doesn't matter as long as they maintain a control on power.
We can disagree, it's fine. Trans people are not a secondary issue. Absolutely everything is a secondary issue to the fundamental dynamic, the material dialectic, the control over wealth and power that capital holds. Like all other issues, race, gender, sexuality, everything are just pieces placed on a board to distract from or in some way enhance or accentuate that critical issue. The problem is that class reductionists will look at that and say, oh, then that means those issues aren't important. You know what I mean? Think of it like, I don't know, you're getting, you just because you know you're up against Naruto and that he's invoked his clone jutsu technique doesn't mean you can't fight the clones too. Knowing that you're being attacked by 20 Narutos doesn't mean you get to ignore the 19 that you know are fake, because they're still going to hit your ass, right? You can't, like, there is smoke and mirrors bullshit taking place, but you still have to defend yourself against the shadow attacks. Even if you feel like a fool because when you hit them, they turn into a log with a kunai in them or whatever.
A lot of people in this room, abolish ICE is one where they are a little bit confused about what it means. Lena, you expressed some questions about what Abdul's immigration policy looks like.
I think we can put ICE to better use to protect our borders and protect Americans. How can we draw that fine line between utilizing...
By abolishing ICE and allowing their job of patrolling. So you want ICE to patrol the border. Now, what if I told you that for over a century, another agency was tasked with patrolling the border? They were called the Border Patrol. And they did that job. What if they did that job?
This federal agency versus allowing them to go...
Get out of here with that. What do you mean?
Here's the thing. So I've run government agencies, and once they take on a certain culture, it's really hard to change the culture. Really, really, really hard. So under Trump, he started to recruit people who specifically came to ICE, not to specifically enforce immigration policy, but they're against immigration. The whole subtext of this is that Donald Trump sold this fallacy to people where he understood that people were in pain. You're out of a job, you're out of a home, you can't afford your health care. And his answer was a simple one. Well, if you're out of a job, it's because the immigrant took a job. Out of a home, immigrants living in your home. Out of health care, immigrant took your health care. And so he turned immigrants into the answer to everybody's problems. And then he built out ICE as a way of demonizing immigration itself. ICE itself.
I think one of the biggest comms issues is why abolish ICE and not just allow someone else to run it. For one, ICE is top to bottom filled with Nazis. Homan, Bovino, these people were around when Obama presided over ICE. For two, Border Patrol is not a national security issue. I don't think the DHS should exist at all, but insofar as it does exist, Department of Homeland Security was made after 9/11 to combat terrorism. Why the fuck are they managing immigration? It's just a fascist police state takeover. That's all it is. We already had an agency under the Attorney General, which makes sense because illegal immigration is a legal issue. That's why we call it illegal immigration. It's a legal issue. It's not about terrorism. Terrorism is different. If you are going to have a Department of Homeland Security, and I don't want us to, but if you were going to, you would not, this is just not their purview, not their responsibility. There's a reason the average Border Patrol agent, okay, listen, I'm not going to defend the average Border Patrol agent, but I'm going to say this. They're like cops. They're like cops. Most of them are pretty shit. By and large, they're just like normal cops. So whatever criticisms I would levy against regular police, which I do, they're like this too. They're like cops. ICE are not like cops. They are fucking freaks. They are fucking lunatics. They're Nazi freaks, and they have been before Trump too. Trump too opened up the floodgates, but the average person who joins ICE, they're insane.
Has become a rogue agency based on a premise that is inconsistent with both the Constitution and the ideals of our country. We don't need it. In fact, we didn't have it before 2002.
Yep.
America's a lot older than 2002. So the notion that we can't protect our southern border or we can't enforce immigration policy without ICE is just not true. You get rid of the agency, you fire all the people in it, and then you ask yourself, what would you want to build that actually...
I don't want them fired, by the way. I want them arrested. I want ICE, I want a level of... I want every single person who signed up for ICE to be arrested and detained so that the crimes they've committed allegedly can be investigated. A lot of them would end up going free, but I bet a lot of them, we're talking rapes, murders, prison beatings. A lot of these people, yeah, absolutely. No, I don't think they should get to just walk free, for sure. I think that they should, yeah, no, they're committing crimes. They're crime committers.
Achieved the goals that we have to keep a safe and secure southern border, to create a very clear pathway to citizenship for people, right? And in the cases where you have people who should not be here and do bad things, that you are very targeted in your enforcement, rather than making a show out of enforcing to tell all immigrants that they don't belong here.
That's very, very enlightening. Thank you.
Because I think this goes to like ICE and other things that like our politics are so black and white. How do you change that narrative? Because we need to recognize each other as like people again.
The problem with too many Democrats is it's too easy to point and say, I'm against Trump. You should vote for me. And you're like, well, from a policy standpoint, are you really for me?
Yeah.
You're taking money from all the worst people. So what would happen if we actually built a movement about what could be good? When we can start talking to folks.
I've said this several times. When I worked for the women's shelter in the Coastal Bend, we had ICE officers who had threatened to arrest and rape our case managers if they didn't surrender our clients. This was 2011. Yeah, why not? There's like no consequences. Basically no examples ever of police broadly, but ICE specifically, facing consequences for shit like that. So yeah, why not? Anything to get those numbers up.
Who might have voted for Trump for a whole bunch of different reasons, to be like, all right, is your life better now? Do you have better health care? Do you have better access to a job? Can you afford a home? If no, here's an opportunity. Let's focus on that.
El Sayed won't be able to sit down with every skeptical voter in the state, though. So I asked him what he thinks his path to victory in November actually looks like.
You talked to a bunch of voters who had voted for Trump, many who identified as Republican for a long time, and they all left the conversation yesterday saying that they're going to vote for you. Are there issues beyond sort of Medicare for All, which is your core, that you think have the potential to win over disaffected Trump voters in a general election?
Corporate monopoly. The corruption of our food system. The role
It's why they have to hide behind Israel, you know? At the end of the day, the oligarchy knows, capital knows, that their positions are unpopular. Basically, no Americans are in favor of a complete capital takeover. This is the veil they have to hide behind. At the end of the day, as much as they were lied to, many Germans were enthusiastic about the idea of a strong man with absolute power taking control of their country. after World War I, Treaty of Versailles, Great Depression, blah, 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 blah. You know the story, you know the spiel. A lot of them were just enthusiastic about the idea of like, yeah, well, like this is our guy, you know, we don't care about rights. The idea of civil rights wasn't as much of a concern back then because they hadn't been normalized in a lot of these countries. Democracy was relatively new in Europe. America, we talked a big game about it, but the universalization of human rights as a political concept was still kind of in its infancy back then. At least in terms of its adoption in political systems. A lot of people, this is why after World War II, Italy held a vote. Do we want to be a republic or a monarchy? You know, a lot of people are just like, yeah, you know, we want an absolute strongman with total power. I'm not saying they weren't lied to an extent, but they did want that, like at least enough of them. But in America, not really. Even the most like hardline MAGA types still aren't really on board with that. It's why I say liberal fascism, right? Like fascism still has to operate within the expected and acceptable bounds of the broader global framework, which is neoliberalism. You can be authoritarian, but even then you have to be like this weird pro-corporate, you know, the idea of an absolute strongman is just not socially acceptable really in the same way anymore. Which is good, you know, which is good. Xi did it. Xi Jinping. Not really, no. Xi Jinping might effectively be a dictator, but I really don't think that his leadership is precluded on the social acceptability of his indefinite rule. Or let me put it this way. Xi Jinping, very transparently, so both internally they understand this and publicly with their optics, with their rhetoric, understands that his legitimacy as ruler is kind of bound to the results, if that makes any sense. Like his legitimacy as ruler of China is built on the assumption that he will deliver results for China, that he will continue to reduce poverty, blah, blah, blah. And to this extent, like there has been faltering. It is not an ideological notion across the breadth of China that he has the natural, like divine right to rule. If that makes any sense. Like it's still within the liberal framework in the sense that Xi's right to rule is built on the assumption that he will improve the country. He's not like Mao. No, and he's not. It's still authoritarianism. Don't get me wrong, but it is at least on some level a capitulation to liberal universalization of human rights. You know what I mean? Like he's given legitimacy through result, through upward mobility. But a divine monarch wasn't given legitimacy because they gave good results, right? Like a king of France, you know, Louis the whatever, wasn't made a legitimate monarch because they did a good job. The holy right to their rule was built into their blood. Hitler's argument for him being Führer was not just built on like, oh, if I get unemployment down below 8%, I get to be Führer next year or whatever. It was this like this broader ideological commitment to authoritarianism, which I would say is just not present in the world today. There are very few cases of this being present in the world today. Even to an extent, I think North Korea capitulates to this framework of improvement as a metric for legitimacy and rule, but to a much lesser extent. North Korea is, after all, a, you know, hereditary monarchy as well. Netanyahu? No, Netanyahu is not a strongman in the way that, like, no. Netanyahu has to deliver results. In 2022, Kim Jong-un apologized to the people of Korea for the economic hardship. Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of stuff you can only really do if you're still bound by the general expectation of improvement of the standards of living of others. A real divine monarch would never do something like that. They would never lower themselves by promising anything to the peasantry. Liberalism has changed the world quite a bit. I think mostly for better. Though that the whole like infinite growth capitalism thing does seem to be ending the world right now. So yeah, I don't know.
So right now, you've got the choice. There's only one of us who's never taken money from Blue Cross Blue Shield. Only one of us who doesn't want to send your money abroad to drop bombs on other people and wants to keep it here to invest in your kids. There's only one of us. So, which do you pick?
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to...
This is a good video. It's a good video. It's a good hope pill.